Oh, I'm really nervous. Oh, thanks. So yeah, I gave the title of this talk probably about 6 weeks ago, and then I've been thinking about it ever since, and yeah, probably written it or written some notes anyway in the past couple of days. And it's changed from being about loving kindness to being about how to sow the seeds of like depth of practice and dharma in your own life through creativity, which I think is something that's available to everybody. So I'm going to start with a little story. So yeah, about 12 years ago now, I joined Buddhist Cafe as a full-time volunteer. And at that point, there was a house called Trevance that was a Buddhist community kind of down in Devon. And if you worked in the cafe, you could kind of go there for a bit of R&R in between events. And so, yeah, I went there and we used to check in every morning in the living room. And there's this big mantelpiece with a fireplace. And there was a photo, probably from the 90s, judging by the hairstyles of the order, with all their big 90s glasses, and various different kind of pictures of the Buddha and like quotes and stuff. And then kind of pride of place was this massive black welded together thing, like just like right there. And our check-ins would take like an hour or so, and so I'd spend quite a lot of time just like looking at the photos, picking out the best glasses and looking at this object. And eventually asked one of the people who lived there what it was. And he said, oh, it's a purba. My friend made it for me. A purba's a demon dagger. You use it to pin down your demons so you can like get a good look at them and kind of figure them out, basically. He said, oh, my friend knows that I'm really struggling, and he made it for me, welded it together out of scrap metal. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And the longer I stayed there, the more I looked kind of around the house, and like pretty much on every single wall there was a picture of the Buddha in some form or shape. And then outside in the garden there were like Buddha statues. And then I looked out the kitchen window one day and there was this kind of massive Buddha head kind of mouldering away, full of like covered in moss, mouldering away into the hedge. Yeah, and it really struck me. So I was brought up a Jehovah's Witness, and they are kind of, basically a cult, but they're very Protestant. Like any kind of iconography is idolatry. So I was brought up going to a Kingdom Hall with nothing, like some flowers, no pictures, no symbols, nothing. And so to like be staying in this house where you couldn't, it seemed like, move without a Buddha head, even watching you in the bath, kind of like, it was really like strong experience for me because they were so beautiful. And even in the garden, so I stayed there that winter, and in the garden there was an order member who'd built like a little dome, and he was carving a stupa. So he's a stonemason, so like you go out and there'd be like puffs of smoke coming out of the burner, and you'd hear this chink chink chink, and he was making this massive stupa. So it was just, I felt like I was surrounded by like expressions of creativity and faith and devotion. Like I didn't think of it like that then, but on kind of reflection, I was surrounded by it in a way that I'd never been before. And it was this kind of really rich aesthetic. And also a lot of the pictures, like the Buddha head mouldering away in the hedge, was made by Rupa Darshan. And a lot of the pictures were like, oh yeah, someone at a festival just, felt moved and drew this and gave it to us. And so there was something about this kind of iconography being accessible and made by the people kind of who were there, rather than like some leadership that was invisible. So there's that kind of, that was in a way one of my introductions to Buddha Field, and coming to the festival and seeing all of the beauty and the decor and everything, was also really strong. And so I started to kind of search out like artists who were working kind of within Triratna. And so, I followed up who had made the purba, and he's an artist called Sahaja, who at that point was making a lot of scrap metal statues, and there's still quite a lot in Buddhist centres around the UK. Some really powerful things, and I learnt about an artist called Aloka, who probably everybody knows. He does a lot of tankers and stuff that are in a lot of Buddhist centres, and both of them, thankfully, I don't know, but both of them have written about their kind of process as artists. So I read an article, an interview with Sahaja, and watched quite a few videos, and he talked about the process of creating or transforming one thing into another as a metaphor for the transformation of his mental states, and an actual transformation of his mental states. Taking the scrap metal, welding it in this very visceral kind of earthy way, and then making something of beauty as a way to, as a process to transform his own mental states. Which, being a triple Capricorn, like the Earth sign, I found really, really strong. And then Aloka wrote in a pamphlet about his process coming to art, and how he wanted to, his process coming to making Buddhist art anyway, and how he wanted to create a new Western iconography, which I found I found really powerful. Like, these tankers, are really beautiful, but there's something in them that doesn't quite touch me in a way that that more westernized art does. So I was just, while I was listening to the previous talk, I was looking up at this one and looked at Avalokiteshvara, and I was like, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's all right. And then I looked down and I saw at the bottom there's all the tents. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can situate Avalokiteshvara in this field now. It connects more deeply to my heart to see things that I have directly experienced in the pictures. Kind of Aloka's talking about that, and him talking about creating a personal iconography was really transformative as well, because the thought that I could not exactly take control, but that I could take action to create a personal iconography that made sense to me, and that meant something to me, and that aroused faith and devotion in me. Just felt really empowering. Jehovah's Witness is a pretty controlled place to be, especially as someone who was brought up female. Women are the lowest of the low there, and everything is comes through elders. You're not really encouraged to explore or question. And so the thought that I could find a way to faith that worked for me, was really strong, really powerful. So over the years, these kind of threads of creating a personal iconography, following other Buddhist artists, and being surrounded by the creativity of Buddhafield and Triratna, and it's definitely been my way into depth of practice. I have found after you've been around for a few years, people start saying, oh, you need to find your own way into practice. What does your practice look like? And I've always been like, I don't know. Won't someone tell me what to do? How do I do this? What does it mean? What does it look like? And so for me, kind of this creative, the arts, and the emotions that brought up have been a way into finding a depth of practice. So that's kind of a bit of context, I guess, in a way. And I'm going to talk about how that actually kind of manifests for me personally, and how I practice with that. So one of the first, so I would say I'm primarily a textile artist. I like knitting and crocheting and sewing and making yeah, like kind of visceral, more earthy craft kind of things. I'm not like a fine artist. I don't really like drawing, that kind of thing. So I make a lot of things for other people as an expression of faith. Like I've made things for people to put on their shrines, like made things with words from the pujas, and that have meaning to me, and then give them to them, and yeah, they can do what they want with them. But yeah, there's something about to mark sharing of things together. And I make like knitted things and crocheted things and sewed things for people. At the moment, I would say my main practice of making things for other people is like a meta practice. So I'm at the stage, so I've asked for ordination, and I'm at the stage where like people I consider peers are getting ordained. It's like this is the 3rd year in a row where somebody I know who I would consider a peer has got ordained, and like it's getting painful. It's quite hard. Like there is such joy in it for them, for me, for them, that they're at that stage and going through that. But there's also like, oh, I want to, like I want my practice to be seen to be effective, and all of that. And so yeah, making some clothes for somebody to take on their ordination retreat feels like a really powerful way to both kind of be kind to myself and like say, okay, like you're feeling envy, you're feeling a bit like, oh, why are they getting there and I'm not, I'm trying really hard. And you can do something that you love doing, and it's okay. It's like a way of taking care of myself, but it's also a way of offering something to them, something significant, and a way for me to really reflect on their going for refuge. Like I make a real point of like, while I'm sewing, not listening to music or like watching TV or anything, but listening to mantras, thinking about times when I've seen and valued their practice, things that I've seen them done, like rejoicing in them, basically, kind of in my mind as I'm sewing. And it's been really transformative. And there's something that links back to that new iconography idea as well. Like, so the general tradition is that you wear robes on your ordination retreat. I've seen pictures of people wearing them. I'm like, I'm not really into that. It doesn't really touch me. It doesn't move me. It doesn't kind of say anything to me about ritual or devotion or practice. But making somebody something in blue, the color of the Dharma, that I know has been made while I've been like singing mantras and thinking about practice and stuff, that like really means something to me, or like really says something to me. And have this whole fantasy about like being able to, everybody from now on until who gets ordained, being able to make them a piece of clothing that they could wear, like in the same kind of way as a caser. They could wear it to rituals and all. Pie in the sky, I think. But yeah, it's like trying to find a like personal connection to it, and kind of deflate that like ego Mara demon of like, oh, why haven't I got there yet, or whatever. Another way that kind of creativity comes out in my practice is in making for myself. I'll show you. Yeah. So I started my period yesterday, and I'm really not feeling doing this talk. I didn't want to, like, I'm finding it hard. But so I'm wearing some underwear that I made myself. I'm toting around this bag, which I do not need. It's not really got anything in it, but I made it. And I'm wearing this pink dress that I bought from a woman who lives in Wiltshire who makes it in her house, and it's pink. So there's something around like making as like an amulet and like a protection, like a holding of myself, like like making real the mental state of like holding myself, you know. I guess triple Capricorn Earth, like it has to be in form for it to be real or something. I don't know. Yeah. And so there's that like meta for myself, and like meta practice for myself to make things, as this kind of protective thing, but also to just quieten everything down. Like, I would say I'm plus sized, and so to go into shops and buy clothes sometimes it's not a pleasant experience. And sometimes actually being here with all these thin, live, beautiful people is also not a pleasant experience. And so to make clothes that are like completely divorced from that, like numbers or sizes, or actually seeing anyone else wearing it and looking better or worse in it than me, like to make my own stuff kind of divorces it from that and gives it a step away. And so it helps me feel a bit less concerned about what everybody else is wearing and how they appear, and just feel like, well, I chose this and I made it for myself, and it's a symbol that like I really care about my body and accept it in the way that it is. And it's kind of so I feel like so much of like the creative practice is like working towards helping me bring the Buddhas to mind or the Dharma to mind in every moment. Like it's not just a thing a concept in my head or an emotion in my head or my body that I need to kind of come back to. It's like, oh yeah, every time I look down, there's the pink of Amitabha. Oh yeah, every time I like, pick this water bottle up, the cover that I made. Oh yeah, there's like the string that I didn't weave in. So it's like, is it a water bottle cover or is it still some string? Like it's kind of about building those reminders of like the Dharma and the like the aspects of life that we're trying to remind ourselves of all the time. Yeah, just bringing them into form so that I see them and I'm reminded of them much more. And there's something about it helping me become, like Sangha talks about the group and becoming a true individual, and how we need to kind of be moving away from the group and trying to belong to a group and becoming like a true individual who's going towards enlightenment and who would go still towards enlightenment if no one else was doing it. And finding like a creative practice of like making clothing feels like, and actually just making generally is feels like a path towards that, because there's nobody else to please other than myself. There's nobody else to decide what to make other than myself. And so it's like I can't look to the group to be like, oh well, what should I knit next? Who should I knit something for next? There's nobody else to tell me that. I have to decide it for myself. And it's a really, it's like a small but subtle and actions that kind of grow bigger and like really ripple out through my life. I feel like since I have been making more, and I've become much more like steady in myself, much more like I don't really care what other people think so much. It seems like such a simple thing to like be making things or knitting things, and but it has a really big impact. Okay, cool, thank you. I think that is it. Actually, I could probably go around talking more about it because I find it so interesting. But I think that's it.